it says we're live. Now we are.
Holy crap.
Oh, we should probably turn the speakers off too.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah. So we had all of this set up an hour ago. We did a test run. It all worked just fine. And 5 minutes before we're supposed to start our
turn
Q&A,
it all on?
we turn it on and nothing. Camera won't work. Camera won't connect. We've got no live. We've got nothing. And I don't think it's a coincidence. This kind of happens every time we're going to do something really important or talk about something really important. So either we have a fight or something doesn't work or some emergency comes up. But anyway, so we don't know if anybody is going to show up. If everybody showed up at noon and we weren't here and now it's 12:17 and well, anyway, we hope that people show up. If not, we've got some good stuff to talk about anyway. So how are you feeling?
I'm frustrated beyond all doubt. This is what I look like when I am ready to punch something.
He was ready to toss the computer over.
It's nothing drives me crazy more than it should work and it isn't working.
Right.
And we started it 19 times and it was the 20th time of doing the same thing that it turns on.
Right.
And so the topic of what we should be talking about today, which, our question was, how do you get through an argument when each person has a completely different view, I think is moot right now because there's bigger feelings in the room right now, which is, what do you do when your husband is super pissed off?
Right. And it would have been he was so livid. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just sat here calmly. I could have very easily said, come on, man. It's, settle down. There's no reason for you to be so angry. That wouldn't have helped at all. That wouldn't have got us anywhere. You're still riled up. I can see it.
I am not a happy camper right now. I feel embarrassed. We said we're going to be here. We're going to be here to talk to people. We're here to help people. And then nothing goes right. And it makes us look bad. And so this fear of embarrassment, makes people respond really poorly.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I'm the first one to fully admit that. And so, again, if you were here earlier and we weren't here, the stupid technology is driving us crazy. But that's why we're practicing. We're learning how to do this, which is kind of like marriage.
Right. It's a perfect example of when you are learning new things in your marriage and you're trying to figure out how to make them work. And you're just miserably failing at it because you're new at it and you don't know exactly how to do it perfectly or how to even do it easily or smoothly. And so in this case, when Paul was having some issues, I gave him a lot of grace. I didn't respond poorly to him. It would have been very easy, and that would have been my normal mode of operation going, it's just stuff. It's not, don't get so worked up about it.
Stop feeling what you're feeling.
Yes. But I realized that he gets very easily frustrated when simple things turn hard. And I know that about him. And so I just give him grace and say, okay, he'll work through it. We'll get through it. Hold
on. That makes me sound like I'm pathetic or something. Simple things go hard and I don't have much resilience or self-control.
No, that's not what myself. I'm saying at all.
It reminds me of the story when Isaac needed to ride his bike when he was a kid, or it might have been Sam. And Dad, just tighten this one nut on the brake control thing so I can, the brakes work. And I tightened it and it snaps off. Oh, crap. So I got to go to the store and buy a new bolt at the bike store. But the bike store doesn't have the right bolt. So I have to go back to the hardware store to find it took literally 4 hours from a tighten the bolt to now 4 hours of my Saturday is gone. And it drives me crazy when that happens. And I know I'm not a pleasant person when I get into that mood and that mode.
Well, I don't think that you're the only male who struggles with that.
No, I know
when
not.
Things that should be super easy turn out not to be super easy, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
So, Yeah.
So thank you for being here. If you're here, put a little comment in the side letting us know you're here and who is here. And if you have any questions, again, the question we were going to talk about today
And we
was,
still can.
how do you get through an argument when each person has a completely different point of view? How do you do that? I know how I do it.
Well,
I tell you to shut up and listen to my way. Because I'm being graceful enough to just tell you the right way straight out of the gate, and your way doesn't matter.
You're funny.
Thank you for watching. Hope this is helpful.
Have a great day. It's funny that this question got brought up because I can speak to it as of yesterday.
Yeah.
We were having a conversation about something,
yeah.
and we had two completely different views on it.
Quite
very different, and it was really difficult for me because I just could not see why Paul had the view he had when it seemed so clear that my view was the one that should have been the right view, or I just couldn't make sense of it. And I had to spend a lot of time recognizing that that he might actually have a different perspective on it. Well, it was very obvious that he did. But what I actually had to do is I had to ask him a lot of questions, help me understand why. And I had to be open to that those were his feelings, his experience, and we may not experience things the same way because of our past experiences affect how we experience present experiences. I'm using the word experience a lot. Anyway, that's so funny. You're laughing at me. Anyway, I think I had to ask a lot of questions, and I had to be open to...
Start there again. You have to be what?
Had to ask a lot of questions. And I had to be open.
Which is what I think a lot of people miss out, and why arguments come up, because they're not very open. When you have, again, different perspectives, when you have completely different view of something, most of the time as human beings, we spend our time trying to convince you of my view.
Right.
And you spend a lot of time trying to convince me of your view.
Right.
And we don't do the listening thing. We don't do the tuning in and truly understanding, like you were talking about. You had to stop and ask questions and listen and try to get into my head.
Right.
But our humanity goes, I am right, and I want to be heard, and I want to be understood, and so I'm going to talk, and I'm talking.
Right.
Have I convinced you yet? Nope. I'm going to talk and talk some more. And if you're not listening, we don't ever get anywhere. So the very first thing to do is you have to check, are we open? Do we have a true, genuine openness to want to understand what your spouse is trying to say? Because if you don't have that, it don't matter.
Right. And then the other piece is, I think we get caught up in, well, that's not how I feel about it. That's not my experience. So that shouldn't be what you're feeling. You shouldn't be feeling that. And that's where empathy comes into play, where you have to go, oh, it doesn't matter what my feelings on it are. If Paul's are different, I actually need to take the time to understand why his are different, why he feels the way he feels. And having that empathy piece is really, really important.
Your feelings make sense.
Right.
That is what empathy means, is I don't actually agree, but your feelings make sense. I understand why you feel what you feel. One of the other things that I suggest people do, again, when you have a completely different view and you're stuck in an argument in some way, do not move forward unless you're on the same page. A lot of times, again, we try to railroad someone into my perspective, and then, okay, we're going to make this decision and we're moving forward, and the other person ends up being hurt or resentful or frustrated, or they want to get even in some way. And so, if possible, I know not every decision has the luxury of being able to wait on making the decision, but as much as possible, make an agreement that says we aren't going to move forward until we get on the same page, until we understand you, like, multiple personality. I understand you and you understand me, and we come to a consensus. Now, that is a hard thing to do. A lot of couples don't actually do that because that takes work, that takes energy and effort. Right. And a lot of people go, skip it, never mind, whatever you want, honey, I'll give in. And husbands become massively resentful and bitter and really annoying when they become passive aggressive in that way.
Right.
Or wives tend to nag, again, being totally stereotypical here, but wives tend to nag and again try to push their husband into a decision. So no moving forward unless you guys agree on something. And when you have that premise, when you know this is the foundation of how we work through things, now you don't feel pressure. You don't feel that stress of, I got to get something done.
And you actually feel like the other person is going to maybe listen to your point of view.
Yeah.
And it's going to be balanced as opposed to that tug of war that you get.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, if you are just signing in here to YouTube, do two things for us. One, put a little thing in the chat that says, hey, I'm here. Nice to see you. If you got a question, put it in there. That would be great. And then second, because you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button.
Right. If
there's a subscribe button somewhere. I think there is. I'm looking around, but I don't actually see it on this page. When you're done watching, hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have as many people as possible subscribing to the channel so that when videos come out like this, you can have them delivered to your YouTube feed. Because if you're like me and my kids, we spend a lot of time on YouTube, especially because I got to figure out how to, fix something on my son's car.
Or fix the camera that's not working.
But anyway, if you're here, thanks for watching. The topic we have been talking about is how do you get through an argument when each person has a completely different view? What else stands out to you on that?
Oh, just don't have an argument. Just
kidding. When each person has a completely different view. We talked about empathy. We talked about listening and openness. I would probably say the last thing, and again, each one of these are kind of the 6 parts of the secure marriage framework, is that values piece. If you stop and go, okay, this is important to my spouse in some way. My wife really believes her perspective in some way. Instead of me trying to just solve the problem and get the decision made, what is it about this thing that is really important to you? Because usually the problem is not the problem. There's some other bigger theme or fear or need stirring up that she wants to have met, or a husband wants to have met in some way. And really good spouses, really good husbands take the time to go, okay, there's more going on here. Okay, tell me more. I want to draw out. I'm curious about what that is. And again, and usually when you figure that out, you start to go, oh, again, your perspective makes sense. That empathy piece, you make sense to me. And so, I can understand why you're holding on to this position so strongly now. Yeah. I can't think of anything else on this. I can say that this is a huge theme for a lot of couples. Again, this I want my way. So one more thing we can talk about, the survival brain, okay? That piece of your head that says, I want to make sure that I get my needs met first. That is kind of the core for every argument, every fight, every issue in your relationship is that inherent, I got to keep myself safe and I got to get my needs met in some way. And so I don't actually care about your perspective. I want my perspective to be heard and understood and validated first. Right. And then I think I will feel better. Reality is I don't actually always feel better.
No, because you think you're going to feel better, but you don't, because your spouse still isn't feeling better.
And you're not connected. Yeah. And so you just exchange one set of problems for a different set of problems. Right. And that's a rotten trade-in. Don't do that. You don't get what you want. Nope. All right. I think that's about it. Thank you very much for your patience in coming here. Again, goofy technology and drives us crazy, but we're still learning. And if this is helpful and you have another question you want to send in to us, you can actually send it. Go to securemarriage.com, hit the contact page, send in a question if you want. You can put a question in the comments here. Eventually, we're going to actually have a phone number. We actually have a phone number right now, but we're just, again, adding in technology things here where you can actually call in and say, what do I do about this? Here's the situation. And we'd love to provide real answers to real problems in real marriages. That's kind of what we're hoping to do. Yep. Anyway, thanks so much for watching right now. And I think we're going to be done.
Yep. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Now it's always tricky. How do we turn this thing off?